Hi everyone, Tim Clegg here from Nelson Nutmeg Pictures, doing another breakdown of post-production on this low-budget movie. I've already done one on data management and how we coped with 3 different editors using proxy files, separate reels, and how we brought that all together in 4K at the end. And in this one, I'm going to look more at the art of color grading, in a way, a little bit of color correction in there as well, and how we treated the images. Now, just to set the scene for this a little bit, first of all, as you can see, I've kind of, for the ease of capturing and to make this all viewable, I've kind of squeezed down the Premiere layout here so that we've got very cramped timeline, but that's so we can mainly see the effects window and also the final program window, because that's where most of this action's going to take place. This isn't how I normally edit, so there'll be a bit more scrolling around than I'm used to. But let me just kind of sow the seeds of the film. It's it's a kids movie, so everything's kind of very bright and colourful. A lot of kind of good vibes about it. Set in the summer, set in the UK, so it's not always sunny, but a lot of the time it needs to kind of look at least like it is the summer holidays, even though we filmed actually through August, September and October, so quite a lot of seasonal change in that time. But that's the kind of the brief, if you like, to have a kind of warm feel about it. Green grass, blue skies, blue sea, that kind of stuff. Just that kind of warm feel. So nothing super crazy. So I'm not trying to grade to particularly give the film like a distinctive look. That's not how we shot it either. When we were doing it with Sam, we were just talking about Sam the DOP. We were just talking about really, let's keep it looking, good, rather than particularly stylized in any particular manner. So that was what we were going for. That was our aim. But even that throws in some challenges. So this is really about doing it on a low budget way. What's the proper way to do it? Well, of course, it's to get a proper colorist involved and get some the best monitors to actually look at the image and grade it as best we can, keeping it all in 16-bit color channels and all. That's the proper way of doing it. But in a way, most low budget filmmakers, that would cost more than they'd spent on the rest of the film. So what can you do low budget? Is it a waste of time? Absolutely not. Just to recap, we shot this on Blackmagic in ProRes codec, not even RAW, because we knew we wanted this look. We weren't pushing it too far, and there was plenty, ProRes HQ 4K, there's lots of data in there to push around. If you do shoot H.264, you do struggle a little bit. Let's have a look at how that all went along. Right, so here's a classic shot from the film. Good example in a way, because it's got faces in it, scenery, blue sea. That's just a classic scene from the movie. So on this side here we can see what I've done. So there's actually 5 layers of effects just to get that rather boring looking shot. If I turn all those off, then you can see back to the flat shot that we actually originally took. This is how we shoot. We shoot with the with that slightly flatter look from the Blackmagic, because that ensures that we're never going to get anything, any highlights blown out, that kind of thing, because we're just shooting in the middle, if you like. Nothing too bright, nothing too dark, nothing oversaturated so that it would cause a problem. What that means is, of course, we need to sort of boost that up. let's have a look at what that looks like. This might not be the swiftest playback because I am actually using the actually original 4K from the camera here, rather than any proxy or anything like that, so we can actually see how this works properly. And this is actually my timeline for the final film. Right, so the first thing I do is to kind of just to, if you compensate, if you like, for the fact that we've shot flat, not raw. Didn't shoot raw, just shot the ProRes HQ codec. Okay, let's. If I turn that back on, you can see it's in a way. It's like, right, well, that sort of got us most of the way there to the job done, compared to how it is when it's flat. So what's in here? Okay, just a normal fast color corrector. That's the built-in Premiere effect. Nothing fancy about that. I've not mucked about with anything color-wise at this point. All I've done is increase the saturation, doubled it, 200% saturation, and then I've also changed the input levels to expand, if you like, down into the blacks and up into the highlights. Right, let me show you how I do that without, if you like, ruining it all. We might as well just have not shot with the flat. We might as well shot on the video mode, the Rec 709 color space mode. So I use the scopes to get that back up. Now, saturation 200. If I look at this, let's just go over actually the two scopes we're going to be looking at. This is number 1, which is about saturation. The more saturated, the further out the little blob in the middle will go, so it'll dance around a little bit. This is pointing to the red because of this bright red thing, and you could see if it was much more, it would be outside of the safety margin, probably be touching it, be looking a bit weird, sort of too saturated, unnaturalistic. So I'm not going further than that. And the other scope that I'm using at this point is down here, this RGB parade. Let me just explain what this is showing. So this is the red element of the picture, the green and the blue. I probably don't need to explain that, of course, that is how all video images, computer-based images, are portrayed. And what we can see here is that this is the left side of the screen, this is the right, this is the left side for green, and the right, this is the left side of the screen, and the right for blue. Does that make sense? Now, what it shows you is the amount, if you like, of the signal for each of those colors. So here we can see there's a good mix of red, so it's very, very bright in some areas, very dark in others. Same with green, same with blue. If I turn this effect off, we'll have a look at the kind of before when it was flat. Okay, so this is the flat image, because it takes up less room, because there's nothing really 100, completely dark, and there's nothing 100% bright. Everything's in the middle. That's why it gives you that flat look. Let me turn this effect back on. You can see it kind of is expanding it out. I'll show you as it moves too, if we try and keep the picture in and the scopes. So what I do is, this is how I go back to, this is like straight from the camera. And let's even put that saturation back to how it is. So ignoring the saturation for a bit, let's just look at the luminance. I'm bringing this down. You can see that the scope is dropping here. So back as it is, I'm bringing it down. I don't want to go too dark like this. Now I'm crunching all up, and the blacks, there's too much blacks. What is information is now gone completely. It's all being pushed too dark. I'm just taking it so it sits neatly at the bottom. Now whatever's darkest in that image is now completely black. Almost the same but opposite for the whites. I'm bringing them up. You might be able to see the detail. There's some spikes here. I'm taking them up to 100. Again, if I go too bright, then all the detail, look at that sea, all that detail, the brightness of, but in the waves is kind of gone. It's just crunched up too much into all the whites there. So again, I'm not going crazy. I'm just taking it so that it hits 100. Now, and then let's put the saturation back up. Okay, now is that a good grade? In a way, no, because all we've done is just carefully using the scopes brought that image up to competent, if you like. It's now kind of a competent image, but doesn't have any kind of style about it or anything like that. That's what these other elements are going to do. I'm going to take the scopes away for a minute. The next thing that I do is just to isolate certain areas. This one's the sea. So if you look at the sea, I'm bringing it up bluer. Actually, in reality, this is an overcast day. I don't want to give that away too much. I want to make sure it looks bright and sunny like a summer holiday. So that sea needs to be brighter. So I use the three-way color corrector for this. Again, it's just the built-in effect within Premiere. And the three-way color corrector has these three color wheels where you can say, right, I want the shadows to be kind of one color or one brightness, the midtones are different, and the highlights another. I've pushed them all towards sort of cyans and blues. Now, what you're probably wondering, of course, is, well, surely that should turn the whole image blue. It would do indeed, except for the use of this secondary color correction. Now, what secondary color correction does is say, right, you see that effect, only do it to certain parts of the picture. Let me put it back to how it is at the start, and you'll see what I mean. Okay, that's how it is at the start. I've got a slight mask on it through a very useful feature that's built in now to Premiere, which is where you can have a mask in an effect. So I've drawn a shape, if you like, to just do this top bit of the image. Now, I could, of course, do a really fine mask, try and cut round everyone's faces and hair and everything like that. Not that useful, of course, because people would move and, would be there forever. The secondary color correction says only do it to certain areas of the picture. Now, one way we can pick that is to say, right, I only want to do it to the things that are already blue. Her face isn't blue, this thing's red, only the sea is blue. So, if you look at this hue setting here, I'm going to pull this in. Right, we want anything, you can see how it's between these two squares is the colours it's going to affect. Actually, that's got us not too bad straight away. I can fine tune that, or indeed use instead the amount of saturation and the amount of luminance. So how bright, so I could just do just the brightest bits of the picture and nothing else. So you can see that knocks it out, or in just the most saturated areas. So for instance, I might be a bit concerned that the white of the waves might just end up getting a bit, I want to keep those white. Again, that's kind of nice and stylized. So I might just shy it away from touching anything too bright. Okay, that's not too bad and gives me that nice nice blue sea now. To help with this, there's a thing called the show mask. If you click on that, it shows you whatever's in white is what it's now going to apply the color correction to. The things that are in black, it leaves alone. So actually, you can see that's not a bad old mask that I've managed to make quickly there. There's definitely only the seed that's going to be touched. Let me show you again. If I start to get it wrong, you can see it's all bleeding in. It's part, her hair's now going to be going a little bit blue. Yeah, you can see that. You can see that. So again, let's just get that so it's nice and as it should be. That's how we want it. Now, won't go through this again and again, but I've done the same with the greenery. Very more subtle though, just touching these greens, just so there is some bright green. And then I did one which just does the red chew wrapper. You wouldn't maybe normally bother with that, but the chew wrapper is important in this scene. It's the most important part. She's talking about it as being a clue to the solving of Who Killed Nelson Nutmeg. So, because that's the title, it's an important thing. So not only is it placed somewhere like that nicely in the screen so that you kind of eyes drawn to it, we've made it kind of bright red, but that cellophane isn't all that red in reality, so it's kind of just boosting it up so that it really stands out. And then the last pass, I've used Magic Bullet Looks for this, only because I've got it. You don't need it. You could replicate this with the color correction tool, pretty much most of it. But all I've done is added a slight warm filter to it, which kind of just gives it a little zing. So that's with it on, that's with it off. Just gives it a warm. I'll bring it across. Okay. What I've done is added a slight vignette. I've spotted up that center chew wrapper again, just so it's the brightest thing on the screen, and so your eyes kind of drawn to that. I've put a little graduation in the top corner here so that becomes fades off, so again your eyes drawn towards that. And here's this warm filter, it just increases the oranges and those sort of warm colours. Ironically, of course, what that means is it starts to knock the blues back, but because your eye, I've put that filter on nearly all the film in different amounts, your kind of eye compensates for that, so you start to accept what I'm showing there as being kind of the bluest thing. So that ends up with the final image. What of course you have to do is replicate that then across all the other images, the one that comes just after, the one that comes before, and you're trying to match up the sky and the sea and just keeping it all about the same, so nothing jumps out at you as being completely alien. Okay, let's have a look at a variation on that idea. This is from later in the film, similar kind of location. Nearly all the elements of it are the same, but this became one of those really fiddly tasks. I did the normal pass, that was fine. Magic bullet warming, all that's good. Just turn those off again, just to go back to the raw. Not raw, not raw in that sense, back to the original material. So again, you got your normal flat background, brought it up using the scopes, but the sea caused me a problem, and the reason was that it was hard to use the secondary color corrector to say differentiate between this bit of Billy's top and say this bit of the sky. It's too near, too similar. So in this case there was no other way around it but to actually manually adjust the path, so it, essentially cut out the top and to just tweak your way through it. Now here's some features about mask path that people don't know about. So in the first example, I did that really quick mask, if you remember, just to get the top half of the picture isolated. You can animate that path, but if you use these here, as it says when you hover over it, track selected mask forward. So what that will do is actually automatically track the points during the scene. Now, this is too complicated for even that to work, but this feature I found not many people know about. So if we were tracking, for instance, just the edge of the Colonel's hat here, and we were sort of panning across it and we just wanted something here, it would follow that really, really well. It's quite slow doing it, but it's automatic. So you just click play and it will go through and do every single frame of that scene and move the mask along with it. That's fantastic. When someone's moving around with an irregular shape, you're back to doing it manually. So it'll tween it, so I would do it every 2, 3, 4, 5 frames, that was all, and then it'll in between that shape. So you can see as she's moving, I'm having to move that mask just slightly with it, because otherwise you just, don't quite get the edges enough. So it does come down to doing that manual stuff if you want that character to pop out of the screen. I mean, it was a bit of work, but actually it works quite well, because there's no way that this character is kind of blending into the background, which you can't always do with such a shot because the focus, this is kind of out of focus, but you can't really tell because it's such a neutral thing. But the colour really makes her zing out. Just go back to what that looks like without any effects. The character doesn't really stand out. So it's worth putting that bit of time in because you end up with a shot where you know where you're supposed to be looking and what you're supposed to be doing. The last thing I just wanted to talk about was some day for night work that we did. Now, some of it took place at night. So not day for night, but in the same scene. So this is at night. You can see we've got a light source coming in, and all we had to do there was really just sort of tweak it around a little bit. That's it as we shot it. All I'm really doing is actually bringing up the sky and then adding a small blue tint to it. I'll show you why I needed to bring up the sky and add that blue tint if I show you the day for night material. So a little bit further on. Okay, here's the day for night scene. It's Billy walking up the cliff at night, checking out the sounds that she thinks she's heard. Now, why couldn't we just do that at night using the same techniques that we just did on the other shot? Well, the reason is, first of all, safety. There's absolutely no lights up the cliff, and so if you like, taking anyone up there at night is quite a dangerous venture. Taking crew and equipment up there, even more dangerous. I'd be worried about that anyway. And then if you like, added into that working with children to take them up there, it's a definite no-go. Even if we probably did have the budget for some large lights and so on, because it would just be really quite tricky and not great for the natural environment either, to have large lights up a sort of crumbly cliff. So anyway, we're back to doing it day for night. All we did here, managed to do it all within Magic Bullet. If we turn it off, there you can see illusion ruined, everyone. It's fine, it's in the daytime. Just same in shooting it the same as we did the other scenes. All I did with the Magic Bullet was to essentially move everything to the blues. So turning off all those masks that we might have used in any of the other scenes, what I did was a series of graduations in the side, but mainly it was about using the three-way. Again, I could have done this within Premiere, no worries at all. It's just that I was already using this to try and balance out between those two scenes, but you don't need to use Magic Bullet for this. You could easily do this within Premiere using the three-way color corrector in that. But all I've done is push mainly the darker tones towards the blue, and actually I kept the whiter parts white. If you turn those to blue, if we do that now, you can see it starts to become almost a little bit too like you've just put a bit of blue perspex over. So actually keeping the whites, which is those waves, white gives it the illusion that the sun's just sort of the moon is just bouncing off that brighter elements in the shot. It's actually mainly about moving the shadows down until they become this kind of bluish shadows. These kind of graduated effects then just help to push those background elements down, so we're left with what looks like, in a way, a little shaft of moonlight that just happens to be hitting her face here, and then if it goes on to hit the waves there. And so by combining that with the scene that definitely does look at night, we hopefully got quite a convincing day for night scene that actually can be seen as well. The trouble with a lot of day for nights is that people go a little bit too dark with them, so that the viewers get slightly frustrated, they can't actually see what's happening. If you imagine this is really a home entertainment release, people are watching this on their, not very professional TVs or tablets which aren't calibrated at all. So, maybe they've got them a little bit too dark. Don't want to go too dark with it. Want to be able to keep it being viewed easily and comfortably, so that it's not like, oh, what's going on, I didn't actually get it, and people get frustrated. Then they feel that they've missed out on elements of the story that they should have got but couldn't see. So I feel that this balance is probably a good one for a home entertainment release. Well, that's quite a quick whistle stop through the grading process. Just reiterate, this is just something to be done that I've done at home because it's a low budget, micro budget feature. Obviously, it could be done better, it should probably be done better, but it does go to show that there's plenty that you can do with your micro budget feature to get rid of and overcome your production problems, as in, we can't afford the large lights for night shooting, but we can shoot day for night. With some good grading ideas, you can overcome the fact that it's not always sunny, and again, you can't afford the large lights to give you that direction. You can at least grade the sea and the sky to be a bit bluer, and to give everything a warmer look. It means that some things that seem impossible have now got a chance, and that's as much as we can hope for with a micro budget feature. All right, I'm going to draw it to a close there, and just say check us out again soon when we're going to be looking at making the DCP, which is how we got it from this 4K timeline into the cinemas and onto the big screen.